I'm Sam Taggart with Can't Knock This, host of the first ever Door-to-Door Con, bringing professional collaboration to the direct selling and door-to-door industry. Go register your seat for our event January 2018 at doortodoorcon.com. Hey, this is Sam Taggart with the D2D podcast, and today I've got an amazing guest, Trey Gibson, founder and CEO of Spotio, one of the leading apps for area management and door-to-door sales and anything field sales. Today it's going to be an awesome time to dive into entrepreneurship and follow-up and area management because he manages over 1,500 different companies that sees the data, sees where the goods and the bads are for tracking your area and being efficient with your data and management. So super excited to dive into this podcast. Here we got Trey Gibson with Spotio. So back in 2014, he gets this brilliant idea. Hey, I'm going to just make this app to basically better track area and be more efficient instead of like the old school pen and paper that we all had to do. So really disrupted the space. And since then, those that are watching, I'll brag about him because he probably won't brag about himself. But they have over 1,500 companies that they service, over $75 million in revenue over the last few years, and have done some phenomenal things in multiple countries.
That wasn't at Spotio. That was my construction.
Oh, construction. In construction.
Yeah, we haven't done that revenue at Spotio yet. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Okay, I was like, man, Spotio helped out a lot.
Someday. We're working our way towards that.
But you've helped out a lot of companies.
Yeah, we do have over 1,500 companies that use Spotio, but we have not done $75 million in revenue.
Oh, that would be
my previous.
Okay. But 1,500 companies in Spotio. Okay.
Yeah.
So he did do home improvement, construction before that, and that's kind of what got him into the whole knocking and canvassing and trying to figure out, okay, how do we be more efficient? And has been a huge staple in the door-to-door industry, and a lot of people watching this probably use them. So super excited to jam
Absolutely.
today.
Let's talk about it. Let's do it. Yeah. So construction background. Thought, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. We found back then there was just one other company in Australia, and they were like $35,000 to get started. I was like, surely you can build an app for cheaper than that. That took me on my whole technology spree, and it's a little bit more expensive than that, come to find out. So, but it's come a long way, and now we have a full-fledged software platform, like you said, that's used in all over the world. I think 48, 50 different countries and different industries as well. So
it doesn't just service door-to-door, it also helps any in-field sales companies, right?
Yeah. If you sell outside of the office, then you can use it.
That's cool. Yeah, so because I literally have a car salesperson that just hit me up yesterday that's coming to Door-to-Door Con.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, I've got a tech company that's coming to Door-to-Door Con, and because a lot of people realize there's such a cross-contextual, like you're managing prospects, you're managing, follow-up, and you're knocking doors. I mean, every business is a D2D company.
Yeah, sure.
We're all going knocking on doors and trying to
sales. You're right there in front of them. You get an immediate, yes or no. I heard you talking about having a body language guy there. Like that's awesome. I love that because it plays into how the sales is going to turn out for sure.
Yeah. So, kind of, what was the journey like when you first started? You started this app and you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. I hope it actually sells. Kind of tell us about this whole.
Golly, so it's wild. So, you go from selling $10,000, $20,000 construction jobs to a $20 app, and it's taken the same amount of effort. I'm like, God, if we're having to do demos and talk to these people and follow up, I was like, this is going to take the rest of my life to be able to pay my mortgage. But, things speed up and they get going and the word spreads. And the good thing, if a customer, you do a good job for them and they see a return on that investment, then they tell their friends, and you have that customer month after month. Whereas like your background with solar, mine with the construction is you sell that customer once and you're kind of done. Like with the app, I like it because you have to show up every day and make that customer valuable and make sure your system works for them every single day.
Yeah, because you were telling me about a story where one of your first big clients, you landed, the app breaks on them.
Yeah, God, that was horrible. So landed this first big client. We didn't even really know if the app worked yet, and they had 80 reps, which for us, it's still a big customer for us, but back then that was like unfathomable. So they start to use Spotio and they're logging their doors, and then they call in and it's like, hey, this thing just literally won't work. And I was like, wow, I'm not a programmer. I don't know what that means.
You're like, let me change the parentheses.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot a decimal place.
Exactly. Look at that.
Yeah,
thing.
so we'd never tested it with that many pins. So I had to go out and find a guy that was a mapping expert and could write this NASA grade clustering algorithm for us, and now he's an advisor to Spotio. But yeah, so we had to go just figure this stuff out, and I think that's a lot about entrepreneurship and sales in general. Is you just got to put your head down and grind through it. You just got to. I'm going to solve this problem. I'm not going to get stopped and just hammer it out and do it. Yeah, you're going to get no's, but you just got to overcome those.
Were there ever times where you're like, all right, let's just fold. Like, I'm done. This is just not going to work.
No, I think it's always. No, it's always been tough. It's still tough, but that's just not my style.
Cool.
We're just going to figure it out. We're going to put our head down and figure it out. And luckily, I got a great team. Many of y'all probably have talked to them that we just get it done. We're no nonsense, and we work hard. We get it done, and we want to provide value to our customers and to the marketplace. That's why I'm real excited with what you're doing with D2D-Con, is just giving the industry a better name and integrity and bringing that to the industry. So I'm really excited to be a part of that as well, and whatever we can do at Spotio.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about the app, and why its tools and functions really make a difference for any in-field salesperson.
Yeah, so whether you're going to use Spotio, one of our other competitors, or even like a pen and paper, I think what's important is to have a process and follow that process. So in Spotio, for instance, you drop a pin after every door that you knock. So you know where you've been, what the result was, the days and times. So as an individual rep, I can keep track of my day. As a manager, I can see what everybody else is doing and kind of manage that turf properly. Because back in the day, you would just go, I'll just go over here and start knocking doors. And you might forget where you've been, who said yes, who said no. So you go through the area once and then bounce to another one.
I don't want to go back through it again, because what if I knock on the same guy's house?
Exactly.
Might as well scratch all this.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done. Let's go to the next one. A good-sized company could chew up turf like nothing, just clawing it together. So, what we've seen our customers do is, so first is like understand who your ideal customer is. Where are they at? So for solar, it's different than pest control and some of the other industries. So where does that ideal customer live? Do your homework. Like, figure it out. There's a great website I always give out called city-data.com. And it's like this compiler of data, and you can go and see income levels and owners versus renters, and like zoom in and pick out a neighborhood that way. If you have existing customers, go knock around them. That's obviously where you start. So find out where you're going to work, but then hone in on it and stay there. Don't leave. Our statistics show, and this is great information. So if I go through and there's 100 houses in an area, and I go through there one time, I knock every door, I'm going to talk to 25 to 35 of those. A 25 to 35% contact rate, meaning someone opens the door.
So when you go through 100 homes, 25 to 30% will actually
depending on the time of day.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on the time of day. If I go at 9 in the morning, it might be different than if I go at 6 in the evening. But let's just say 25 to 35. So for me to get up to a 75% contact rate in that area, I'm going to have to go through 4 times.
Okay.
So unless you log every door, you can't know that. You're not going to remember who said yes and who said no. My favorite trick was one of our customers before they came to Spotio had chalk, and they would write an X on front of on your sidewalk. Or on the mailbox.
I've heard of that. I've never met anybody say that, but that's awesome.
If I caught someone doing it, I'd be like, what are you marking my house to case in my joint?
Clean that up.
Yeah. If I could rob me later?
That's awesome.
So that's kind of a long, kind of the way that we've seen proper territory management happen. Yeah.
So 4 times through. And what do you find the difference in results are based on somebody that just talked to the 25 and 35% and the person that could go get 75 to 90%?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know the exact statistics off the top of my head, but from what our customers have reported back to us, that it's a game changer, because I go through once, I'm going to get maybe a customer, definitely a couple leads, definitely some names. So as I go back through, I'm saying, I'm going over to Mr. and Mrs. Jones tomorrow at 9 to give them an estimate. I'd love to stop back by then so we could talk. So you're dropping names as you go, and you're just building out that area.
Yeah, because I think people underestimate the power of bandwagoning and names and customer testimonial. And, hey, that guy, it's funny. I have probably one solar territory I've been in for the last year and a half. And in alarms, I went 4 years to the same market. Now, I was in West Texas, Amarillo.
Oh, nice.
And I had 30 guys within 200,000 population. And I had to spend 4 months somehow managing 200,000 people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, man, if you had 30 guys, you need at least 3 million.
Wow.
They're like, you need a market like Dallas. And I had a guy tell me that one time, and I was like, I've not only been there 1 year, but I've gone there 4 years.
Because you manage your territories, right?
And dude, I would be in a neighborhood, and this is why I'm saying this, because, I was the number one rep at Vivint, because I went, and in the year, everybody's like, what did you do different that year that you finished number one? And I said, I stayed in my neighborhood way longer than I ever even thought I should. Nice. And my car group, how you go out to areas in cars?
Yeah.
My car group would be like, all right, we're done with our neighborhood. And I'd be in like these little towns. And I'm like, well, I can't put you anywhere else because there's no one else. There's only 2,000 people in this town. So I'm like, go back through. They're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm like, fine, I'll go back through your turf. So they would be finished. And then I'd be like, I still want to keep going.
Yeah.
So I would drive myself. And I'd be like, screw the car group.
See, so I'm not making this stuff up.
It's true. If you don't believe this, like I would go to the same turf and I'd be there an extra month longer than they were there, and they were only there 2 weeks, and I'd be there for like 2 months, and I would just I like that neighborhood so good, I'd be like, well, I'll just go behind in their neighborhood because they gave up on it. Yeah. So then I'd end up knocking the whole town for them.
That's awesome.
And then I'd text them. I'd be like, so Sherry said to say hi. And, wait, you closed Sherry? And I was like, yep. Yeah. Why didn't you close Sherry? Yeah, it's just like, and it's just the power of like sticking to one.
Was that the name drop? So did you find like the social proof?
I would have a list of. There was one town in Canadian Texas. So anybody that does a
I'm from Texas. I don't even know where that is.
It is like the little in the sticks top corner. So I literally did, I think, 115 accounts, and I think population's 1,000.
Wow!
And over 2 years, and I just had this list, and I swear every house it's like Vivint, and it was like, and it was a testament because I was like, I can't go there again. There's no way. But then I went back. I'm like, hey, it's me again. Oh. Yeah. Okay, everybody else in the town has it. Might as well get it now. And I'm like, this just gets easier and easier and easier the more you just stay focused on one little demographic versus just all over the place. Now it's like, it gives me anxiety to start a new area. I'm like, no, please don't make me start a new area.
No, it's and that's what we've seen dealing with our customers. Again, all sorts of industries all around the world, from 2 reps to hundreds. It's the same problem. Is they're not. And I think it's because it's harder to properly work a territory. It's easy just to go to that's the easy thing to do. Is just bounce around, go to a new place. I've talked to everybody there, whatever.
You have to think. You don't have to write anything down.
Yeah, exactly. You just move.
You don't have to pull out your phone and drop a pin.
It's so much
10
work.
seconds.
So I think it's the easy thing to do. But those that are successful are going to do the minutia, the little details that are going to compound and provide success. Like what we were talking about at lunch with. The email nurture campaigns.
Huge. Listen to this. If you like this right now, if you've done an email nurture campaign to your customers, not door-to-door people.
As a door-to-door person.
As a door-to-door person. Because I'll be the first to admit, I'm on to the next door. Like, I don't want to talk. I didn't even do referrals because I'm like, God, it takes too long to like call them. I'm like, oh no. And I would just go on to the next house. But it's like mind blowing to hear some of the data and the stories from company successes from what you're about to talk to. So listen to this. This is huge.
So this is pretty interesting, and we just released, or we're about to release, an ebook that includes this in there. But so Spotio integrates with 750 plus other apps, and a bunch of those are email, like MailChimp type apps. So what we're trying to work with customers to do is to actually create an email nurture campaign. So let's say we go through and we knock some doors. And let's say that person's not interested now, but they'll give me their email. I want to send them some more. We get this all the time. Hey, send me some more information. Okay, great. What's your email address? Let me send you some more information. Now, whether I go on with of course, I'm going to try to overcome that objection and keep going. Yeah. But at least I can get their email address. So boom. Emails these days are worth money, people. Like, the emails are worth money. So you drop that into Spotio or whatever tool you use, or write it down on your notebook and get it into a MailChimp or something like that that can do an email drip. So you've pre-written, 4, 5, 10, 20, however many emails that are going to go out to this contact at certain intervals. So let's say, week 1, I send something, and you always want to send something of value, not like, hey, Sam, checking in. You want to buy yet?
You want to buy? Yeah.
You ready to buy? You ready to buy? No, send something of value. Like maybe it's, I don't know, statistics on their town or whatever. I don't know what it is. We have some ideas in the ebook. They're not coming to me right now. But send them something of value. And if you keep providing value, at some point you can ask for the sale. So, hey, Sam, we're running a promotion right now. What do you say we give it another look? Or something like that. And I've sent 4 or 5 other emails that have provided value on. So this thing's working behind the scenes for you. Like
you wrote it once,
yeah,
and then you press play, and
yeah. Or in Spotio, you hit save, and it automatically sends it over there.
Yeah.
And boom, you're done. So these email nurture campaigns, and in the tech space like I'm in now, it's like we do that automatically. You sign up for a Spotio account, you're going to get an email nurture campaign. It looks like it's coming from me or Leilani, someone on
Wait,
our
it
team.
didn't come from you?
Yeah,
I thought you
I write
emailed
those
me
at
the other
night.
day.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, he's good.
That's what I do at night after my kids go to sleep is do my emails.
20 emails every night.
So you write it once and you set it and forget it. And so then it just runs. So imagine you get an email back from one of these nurtures that's just, it's like free leads. They're just coming to you. So it's ridiculous.
Well, I was like thinking about it. I was like, I've done hundreds of accounts in different industries. And it's like, how nice would it be to get a phone call a year later? Hey, you still at, so-and-so company? Like, can I get it? It's like, yes. No. But, and that's like what's wild is I did the math. I was like, dude, I guarantee you if I just would have even put even the current customers and done a referral follow-up campaign.
Yeah.
Just even like people that are like, hey, I bought, and it's like I can't even sell them again. Or heck, like I could upsell them a different service.
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, did you know we're adding this? Like, let me upsell you on this. Or like, it's like I wish I could just rewind time and know what I know now and be like,
killed it. Yeah. So it's the things like that. Just put together a process that's going to provide benefit for you, down the road. The referrals, the email nurtures, the properly working your territories. It's what the new breed of companies are doing that are adopting this technology, and they're killing it. The days of just knocking on a door, they don't buy, then you move on. If you're still doing that, then someone's going to come behind you and beat you at your own game because they're going to have a better process than you. And that brings me to even just follow up. Like, God, how many times do you get someone's phone number and they tell you to call back later and you never do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the worst in door-to-door sales. It's got to be the absolute worst.
The best is when you knock on somebody's door and they're like, yeah, I was going to get it, and they just never called me back.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes! But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes both ways, but it's like, well, what if you could eliminate that for you?
So you got to follow. We just released a blog post, I think, a couple days ago, actually, all about follow-up and just do the small things, have that process, and it'll just pay off dividends because your competitors aren't. I think I read the stat is 48% of salespeople do not follow up one time, 40%. And as you go along, it's 82% don't follow up, I think 3 or 4. So if you are doing follow-up and building value with your follow-up, then you're light years beyond everybody else. And I'd be willing to bet that the top guys in the industry, in any industry, have really good follow-up game. I'd be willing to, I don't know that for sure, but I'd be willing to bet either with referrals or following up, they have some way that they keep in contact with their existing customers or potential customers.
Have you seen, within the companies that you help service, have you seen any cool systems that people have put in place to kind of help with that? Or like
that's a good question.
Any technologies that you're like, hey, you just put them into this CRM and it'll help remind you? I'm sure there's like...
Well, like inside Spotio, we have the ability to set an appointment.
Okay.
So that appointment goes on your calendar. So for what I did when I was selling, and this is why, when I sold insulation, I did over $3 million a year in sales of insulation because I just followed up. I would set a reminder every single time I needed to follow up with somebody. Don't leave it to chance. Don't put a sticky on your dashboard. Set a reminder. So we encourage everybody, whether you use Spotio or Salesforce or whatever CRM, log a reminder, log a task, put it on your calendar. I'm calling Sam on January 15th, and I'm going to add you as a count, put you on that invite, and I'm going to say, hey, cool, I'll send you that invite, and I'll follow up with you then. That way it's on both of our calendars, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think also just like one thing that I started doing in solar, because a lot of times with solar it's different than some other door-to-door programs, but like I would have a specific hour that I just called it like my phone jam.
Yeah.
And I would say, this is my phone jam hour every day that I could call the follow-up. I could do the account management. A lot of sales times you have to like manage the current projects that you're trying to get to fulfillment. And just having that like jam hour that you're structured, it's like no distractions, turn the social media off, like that's also really powerful.
Yeah, time blocking.
So
time block. You block that off, and that's what you do during that time. Absolutely. Like we had people ask a door-to-door guy that was like the top rep in a Fortune 500 company, and one of his secrets to success, quote unquote, when it's raining, I don't get rained out. He's like, so if it's a rain out, I go through and I do my follow-ups. So the other guys in the company go home. Like, hey, it's raining or it's snowing, whatever, I can't go knock doors. He would pull out his list and start calling. So same thing.
Yeah, I've actually been surprised. So like, we've started to go through our old leads of people we'd built proposals for and never closed, and just like people that had ran credit or canceled and stuff like that. Like, I was mind blown. I spent like 3 hours the other day just calling, and I was like, man, I don't want to go knock today. So we picked up the phone. It was me and another rep, and we just say, let's just start calling them. And he closed 3 solar deals.
Wow.
And I closed 2.
Wow.
From within an hour of calling just these dead leads.
Jeez.
And I was like, this is embarrassing. We've got thousands of these. And we were like, we just spent an hour. Yeah. And we look at each other like, should we just quit now and just do this? Like,
yeah.
I know, we were like...
Just take everybody else.
Yeah, we were like, can we just like somehow... And it's just like low-hanging fruit that, I guarantee you some other solar company could have gone and knocked on their door and would have just signed up. They would have been like, we were interested. Ready. We just didn't want to make a decision right then.
Yeah, it's so important. And inside sales have a hard enough time doing it, and they're sitting there looking at their computer all day. So if you're doing door-to-door outside sales, like, you have to be deliberate about it. You have to schedule time or schedule activities on your calendar, or else it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, another effective time is the drive. Don't text and drive, don't email and drive, but somehow come up with a good system to leverage the hour drive time that you're out.
Get your fancy Bluetooth.
Get your. I have that little neck thing, but also like. I would tell my car group, or I would have another guy in my car drive to areas so I could be doing calls and stuff like that. Like, I'd be like, I'm not going to drive, like, you drive because I'll kill us. And a lot of times I'd make them drive because they'd be like, you'll kill us watching me on my phone as I drive. It's terrible. But it's just being effective with your downtime and mapping out, like, I just wrote a productivity planner that I'll have for at DDDCon, which is really cool. It should be done in the next week or so. But it literally is a D2D productivity planner that is designed for you to be able to map out your miracle morning routines and then block out your times for your main battles, what I call them. It's the 3 battles. And it's like, okay, I need to make sure I call Janet. I need to make sure I can, close this one, and it's just a way for us to kind of stay even more organized.
So that brings up a good point. We were talking about this at our office the other day. One of our customers wanted some content or ideas on how to stay motivated at the door. Like, in door-to-door, you get a lot of no's, right? How did you find it that you stay motivated when you go and you hear all these no's? What kept you going?
Oh, I just left. I just quit.
I'm done.
Oh, they told me no. This job sucks. That was kind of my style, but don't ask me. No, but for me, it was like the no's, and this part of this is actually in my book. Like, it's the no's should get you more excited. And if I could have what I call selective amnesia, which means like it's almost like a guy hits you and you're like, oh, who are you? Like, it's just, or what's the movie with Drew Barrymore and she has like in Adam Sandler, that 50 First Dates.
Okay, yeah.
It's almost like door to door should be like 50 First Dates. It's like you go up and they tell you no and they're the biggest dick and you're like, okay, and you move on to the next door. And the next door, you're like, hi, I'm Sam. I just had this weird ability to be so just reset, and I never let the no's, like, they weren't like rocks in a backpack. Like, but it just get heavier and heavier and heavier. So my motivation was just simply selective amnesia, like, whatever.
Each no is closer to a yes.
Each no is closer to a yes. Like, I get excited. I'm like, okay, like, and I always, my also motivation is I'm like kind of a smart aleck, and so I always tried to finish with a win, but not in like a
pull up their flowers on the way out.
Yeah, no, like when I was 18, my first summer, I definitely was that guy. I remember I literally bent a guy's ADT sign over my leg. I was like, F this. And then there was one time I literally took a guy's sign and smashed it against his house. Now in front of him, I peed on many doors.
Oh, nice.
I was the worst. And then I was like, oh, I probably don't want to go to jail. But I then started finishing with like a witty win that wouldn't make them feel bad. Like I want to make them feel good because I would re-knock their house. I'd want to be able to come back and sell them even though they told me no the first time. And so anything I would do, like whether it was, hey, can I at least get a glass of water, or I'll like make them laugh. I'll be like, hey, at least I wasn't like a Jehovah's Witness or something,
Yeah.
or something stupid.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, hey, but at least I'm a lot better looking than most guys that come to your door, or
Right.
something like. And even though they're screaming at you, yelling at you, or like I remember this one guy. This was so good. He comes out pissed. You know those guys are just open the door, immediately swear, just like ah. And I was like, you're one of those guys.
Just waiting on someone to tee off.
Yeah, I'm like, you're just one of those guys. And he's like, what do you mean one of those guys? I was, just one of those guys, man.
Took him off guard.
Yeah, he was like, what? And then he like totally calms down.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? You're just like one of those guys, and no matter who it is, you're just gonna come out swinging.
Yeah, that's
he was
awesome.
like, well, and I just became a real person, and I was like, it's cool, man. Like, you're not my guy. See you later.
Yeah.
Smiled, and I was like, I won.
Nice.
I didn't let it get to me and be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this area sucks, and all these people are dicks. Like, I just always finish with a win.
That's good. And yeah, so like going back to the each no is closer to a yes. So what I've heard some of our customers do is it's all that's kind of tracked in Spotio. So they'll know if I go knock 44 doors, I on average get one sale or whatever your ratios are.
Yeah,
so you can
tracking
like
your
count
ratios.
that. Like, okay, I know I just got to go hit 44 doors today or 104, whatever your number is. Like that's on average. And maybe one day you hit your 44 and you don't get a sale. You get shut down, but you go out and do it again tomorrow because the averages speak to that. So you just got to keep at it. Keep your nose to the grindstone and do it.
How many people or companies have you found from like a management status? Because a lot of people that are watching this are managers and or executives and things like that. Like, how do you get your people to really operate more so on an average basis versus an emotional basis? Like what have you seen as good practices to help from a leadership standpoint motivate people that way? Be like, hey guys, like, let's just be Moneyball. Let's Moneyball this, guys. Like, hypothetically, we all go knock X. Like, because I'm sure the companies that do it that way, like, sell more.
Yeah, I think they just do that. They track every knock and they have their ratios. So let's say you have a team of 10 and everybody's numbers are going to be different. So you're the number one rep. You might go knock 10 doors and get a sell. It might take me 55. And so what you can do is look at what part of the pipeline am I falling short on? What part of the funnel? So when I am I not making enough contact with people? If I am making the contact, you and I are making the same contact, are we not getting the same proposals or proposals to close? So you can almost identify at what part of that sales funnel each rep needs help at and then go laser focus in. So if you're the best at closing, I might have you work with a guy that can get to the table but just can't get that sale. So you work together in order to build everybody up and get those ratios kind of the same.
That's cool.
But it all starts with just you got to log everything. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times the management, even they'll use the tools, but they don't go and take the time and plan and be like, all right, let's like pick apart the data. Like, let's like look at this and be like, oh my gosh, if I tweak this number, tweak this guy, move this guy, boom, we're just going to do more. Yeah. And I just think so many people don't play quarterback when they go coach. They don't like say, okay, where's my playmakers? Where's like, and me personally, I failed at that. Like, it's because we're so like fly by the seat of our pants people by nature. We're ADD.
Just go knock.
Yeah, let's just go grind harder. Just work harder. It's like, no, like, I think there, and as I've matured in the industry, I've just noticed, like, the more you can be systemized, the more you can just create some programs around it starts clicking.
Yeah. Well, and recruiting is a big pain of the recruiting reps experience, not experience, is a huge pain we hear all the time. And so imagine if you can make the few you have perform like the 50 that someone else needs, by working with them, training them, having a process, working their numbers. Then, when you do bring in another rep and you are recruiting, I can say, Sam, can you go hit 44 doors a day? You can? Cool. Our numbers show that if you do that on average, you're going to get X number of sales a month. And so we're going to teach you how to be successful. So that's how you do with 10 reps what someone else might need 25 or 30, and you're that's more effective than them. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Like, and most people wouldn't think to use that kind of data to recruit a guy. Because a lot of times people are like, well, how do I know I'll be good? It's like, okay, let's just take the last 50 reps that we've had and literally say, here's the last 1,000 doors, each of those 50 reps. So here's 50,000 doors. And we'll just say, we'll average it out. So can you manage to knock this many doors?
Yeah.
And just break it. It's like, we sometimes overcomplicate it. Like we just kind of like hope to go out to an area and be like, I hope this works today. Like,
well, here's your contracts. Go get some sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta. That's another question we get all the time is, how many doors should the average sales rep knock a day?
I think somebody posted that just barely in the group.
Really?
Somebody's like, what's your average, how many people do you talk to on average before you get a close?
I commented on that, actually. I was
that.
interested in seeing other industries. And it sounded like the one guy was like cherry picking, like going and stopping if there's cars there and skipping alarm signs. But anyway, that's a question we get. And I think it comes down to just same thing if you're cold calling people on the phone. I can make 300 calls a day, but if I talk to 4, like that's kind of the pool I have to sell from. So it's more about like how many people do you talk to? You like make contact with. And a lot of times that changes based on what time of day you go out. Most of the time if you go later, you're probably going to talk to more people. It's just kind of how it works, unless you're in Arizona at a retirement community and they want to talk to you all day.
I literally, there are sometimes, those like cookie cutter neighbors that everybody commutes and they all get home at 6:30 and it's like a ghost town in the middle of the day. I just remember when I'd have hoods like that, I would go, I'd have 2 hoods. And people are like, why do you get 2 neighborhoods? Oh, pause. And I have to hit this.
We're going too long.
No, it just will make me reset. I just heard it, so everybody would ask like, well, why do you get 2 neighborhoods, Sam? I'm like, it's not that I don't like. You can get 2 neighborhoods if you make sense and you can still produce. But my second neighborhood was my old person neighborhood. Like everybody's got lace in the windows, and like you know what I mean. And it's just like you see like the Buicks and like every other, and I'm just like, and most people are like, well, I can't sell old people. I'm like, well, then you can have 2 neighborhoods. But you got to go be willing to sell old people. And so I would sell old people in the day. And I would just be like, yeah, I'm in my old folks' home, and I'd talk about my crocheting days.
Back in your crocheting days.
I really did crocheting. It's like, I'd literally show people, I crocheted my prom dress, or my prom dress. My prom dress. And a tie, slippers. And so the second I bring that up, and I show pictures, the ladies are just like, no way! And they go get their yarn, awesome. And they just like eat it up. Just, and, like clothes. Just like, gets her down.
That's the next podcast. Yes. Sam's going to share crocheting best tips.
Yeah. I'll do a crocheting lesson on slippers. We're going to make Christmas slippers with the little tassels. Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't realize like you can also be efficient with like your demographics of time management on areas, because some people say, well, I don't ever start knocking till 6. But if you listen to the podcasts of like all the top reps that I've interviewed, all of them have had deals before 5, like 4 deals before 5, 3 deals before 5.
Really?
Every single one. And it's like,
is that a consistent? So do they have schedules where they go knock?
They will go knock like from 1 to 5.
Yeah. And
it's like, I can't be a top rep unless I have my 3 deals before 5. For me, it was I need 2 before 5.
Wow.
So I get 1 before 4, 4 to 5 is like my like I had to have my 2.
Wow.
And a lot of people, it's weird, and they get in their mind like, well, I can't really sell before 5, but it's just go listen to Chris Malink, to James Graves and Brigham Lindsay, and you just listen to any of these top reps that have they'll be recognized at the Golden Door Award at DDCon, and a lot of these 1,000 account satellite guys, and they get deals way before prime time.
Yeah.
And I think it's due to the fact that I had my 2 areas. I had my old area.
The old area. That's the secret. Okay.
Or I would do what that guy did. I'd cherry pick and I'd say, okay, there's cars there. And I ride a scooter. I don't know if you knew that. I literally ride a little Razor push door to door. And I do that simply because I need to be efficient with my time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So what else have you seen do's and don'ts of like, here's the best practices we've seen from some of our companies and clients that we've seen help their production go?
I think it definitely comes down to training. Like they have to have some sort of systemized way of training and practice. So have their pitches and they practice that daily. It's just an ongoing training that has to be done. And then they just are deliberate about picking where they work and then just staying in there. I mean, that's really it. Picking your territories. Be careful where you decide to work. If you're going to work there, then you're really dedicated. And from a manager, not letting the reps leave that.
Yeah, because you got to make them burn their boats.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if there's always an easier, greener grass area, it's like, dude.
They'll be bouncing around.
They'll be bouncing all over. So training, making them stick to an area.
Yeah. Anything else? Let me think about that. Follow up, of course. No, I think that's pretty much, that pretty much sums it up. I don't know, like the intricacies of the closing techniques of different, I'm sure they all have their secrets about when they get to the table, their presentation, but they don't really share that with me. It's more like how they organize their teams, their days, and their territories and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. So let's kind of, anything else that you want to, I have a couple other questions, but anything else on area management or follow-up and effectiveness? And, I've learned a ton so far. Like, I'm just sitting here like, shoot, I didn't do it right. And it's like one of those things. It's like we just learn with time, and it takes failing and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's like if we can all apply some of these simple practices, like it's all about getting our production up.
Yeah. So like one of the things is I made this territory size calculator. It's like a spreadsheet. You can download it on our website. But you're surprised at how few houses you really need to have a good territory, and it's somewhere between around 200 houses. In a small area, you could stay there for 2 weeks. And if you're properly working it. So you don't need this whole county, to go work. Like a small area, you can focus there and stay there for 2 weeks if you're going to go back through 4 times. It's just, yeah.
And something along those lines, like here's a fun tip that I always did when I mark off territories. You're kind of drawing out like, okay, Billy, you got this one.
Yeah.
Tommy, you got this one. So I would take, here's the area, right? And let's call it, this is like 1,000 houses. And I would give this guy 100 houses here. I would then give a gap of about 50 to 100 houses, and then the next guy. So there would be this no man's land in between. And I would have this no man's land around each territory. So when anybody asked me, and I wouldn't show them this, right? So I would simply go, here's your area, and then I would give no man's land for a while, and then another area. And the reason I did that, and I found this was the most effective, is because then they call you and they're like, I'm done with my turf. I'm like, okay, I'll get you some new turf. It's right the next street over, and I give them one more street.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Because they think you're going to send the greener pasture over.
And I'm like, cool. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the next 2 streets over. And what it did is it forced them to continue to stay in that turf. And then I'm like, cool, we got 2 more streets for you. Yeah. Oh, guess where they're at? Right next to you. And what it did is it gave them the ability, because they're like, oh, I got that one follow-up sale that I knew I kept trying to catch that guy in my first area.
Interesting.
I kept trying to catch him. Well, now it's not a big pain in your butt to ask me for a ride. Hey, Sam, can you drive me over to that referral I got, blah, 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 that was in my last area? I'm like, no, I try to keep you as close as I can. So I called it my bleed area, and I would let them bleed. And so I was smart with how I would draw the turf. So that's a fun tactic.
I like that.
Tip
I've never heard that before. That's awesome.
So it's just giving room in the initial assignment of bleed area, I found is extremely beneficial.
Nice.
So I thought I'd throw that 2 cents in.
I'll learn some every day.
Okay, so we're kind of running out of time, but what advice? So I always ask this. So if you could jam on one more thing,
okay, let's do it.
What advice would you give the whole door-to-door industry, knowing in the data and all the collective technology you've had? Like, if you could pick one piece of advice, what would it be for the space? And this could be either for a rep or for a leader.
That's a great question. I think it's going to be to have a documented sales process, and actually everything from training all the way through to how we log our door knocks, just everything documented so that it can be replicated. Because if you really want to scale, you're going to have processes built in place. If we want to know where we can improve on, we go back to our processes and where we can improve. So many of the people we see come to us, it's a recruiting game. Like, hey, I'm just going to go hire people and throw them out there, and if they sell, cool. If not, then who cares? I'll just hire more. So I think you have a documented sales process that you follow.
Because you see a lot of companies sign up for Spotio, and then 3 weeks later, probably, well, we're not really doing so well. We're going to quit. And the full reason for that is probably because they just can't figure out how to retain their people. And
they did zero planning. Exactly. They just hired a couple buddies. They were top reps somewhere, and they go get a couple people and go start working. We actually had this conversation on Monday during our manager meeting with our internal team about just how many of our customers just really don't plan. They just kind of willy-nilly go about it. So to the point where we're going to actually start kind of working with some companies on putting in processes so they can be successful and continue to be customers.
Yeah, I found it most effective. I actually built a website for my team specifically one year, and it really helped because it was like, okay, here's our schedule, here's our the first thing you do when you wake up to
Yeah.
the last thing you do at the end of the day to like how to start your area to what's the first thing you say on the door to the close and presentation to the follow-up, and I found if you can, and I did that one year, I did it on a website version versus like an actual manual, and it was really effective. Like I felt like people took it and they said, oh, as long as I do X, Y, Z, Sam's doing like lights out, I should do well.
Yeah.
And our averages were some of the best in the company. And I think that's a huge piece that people miss is the planning and the just mapping it out. Because one person
it's not revenue generating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One person could do it and they're like, well, he's just good. Or he's just like blessed and he was a natural.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you duplicate that?
Yeah, and that goes back to if you're recruiting me, I've never done this job before. And company A has no processes. They give me a stack of cards and contracts and say go work. Company B has a website that I can log into and learn best practices from their reps. I'm going there. My chances of being successful are infinitely higher than over there.
It's huge. And that's one of the reasons I'm building Door-to-Door University is
I'm so pumped about
is
that.
because I'm like, I see it over and over and over again. I talked to this alarm company in Canada, and he's like, yeah, we've got some copy that we've written and blah, 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 but nobody reads it. I'm like, yeah, because you're working with ADD sales reps. Like,
they're not going to read it if you read it if you want to.
Yeah, I'm like, you have to have a system of how and why they read it and when they read it. But also, he's like, well, we're trying to get some videos together. And I was like, how long you been in business? He's like, well, a couple years. I'm like, you've been in business a couple years. You got 50 so reps, and you don't have any videos. Yeah. I'm like, really? And it was just mind blowing. So I feel like this university is really going to make an impact.
Absolutely.
From a, it's going to have industry specific trainings and then generalized trainings of like area management and things like that. So
I love it. I mean, you asked me that. The answer I gave has nothing to do with even technology, like my business. I'm just saying, having training and processes is the most important. Once you get that, then you can dump Spotio into it and dominate. But you got to have that foundation with your processes documented. Yeah,
that's huge. Okay, well, I appreciate this.
This is awesome.
So those that are listening or watching this, add him on Facebook, Trey Gibson, Spotio, Trey Spotio, and he's bringing a big group to DDD Con, and he actually flew out to Utah. This is his first time in Utah, and he's like, Sam, I just want to jam with you. Can I fly out? I'm like, yeah, come on. And it was it was fun, and I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And it was mind blowing for him to see those that are from Utah. He literally, we're actually in North Star's building right now because I was hanging out with Rob. But I was driving down the street and I was like, yeah, and there's Vantage and there's North Star and there's Edge and there's Apton, and
it's
there's
mind-blowing.
And he was just like, wow, I did not even realize how big Door was because you come from the home improvement industry.
Yeah, Dallas, we don't have,
it's big. I'm speaking at IMG Expo, which got a couple thousand of many companies going in January, but it was fun to be your first verge into the Utah Mecca. And,
it's wild. It's nice out here too. Cold, but nice.
Yeah. So, okay, thanks for watching. Like this if you felt like you learned something, and also maybe comment on here some of your best practices for area management. We want to hear kind of some of the stuff that we've shared that maybe you found super effective for you guys.
Yeah.
So, like this, share this. Love you guys. DDD Podcast.
Bye.
See you guys.